Hi, this is Ben from 561 Music Podcast. Right now, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It just helps us get out there more. It also enables us to monetize the podcast, to make it better, do more advertising for it and things like that. Subscribe to the podcast and hit the notifications button. That would be doing us a really big favor. Thank you very much. Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
And how are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. We had a record launch this weekend.
Yeah, we did, didn't we? It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. I'm not going to lie, I was a bit nervous, but I had a good time.
No, it was terrible. I hated every minute of it. But no, it was good. I loved it. And the shake was fantastic.
I know. Following the shake with our acoustic music was a bit daunting, to say the least.
Yeah, it was a little rough. I mean, I'm not going to lie. You know, the whole time I kept thinking, man, we should have gotten a crappier band. But no, those guys are awesome. They're amazing. Every time I hear them, they're better than the last time, and they definitely set the stage for us.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like going on tour, it really kind of, separates the sheep from the goats. It takes you to that. It either splits the band apart or it makes you exponentially better.
Yeah, yeah. And those guys are exponentially better now. So
yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. And the other thing is, with those short shows, they've got it dialed in how to do it. And it's not something that we rarely do a short show like that.
Yeah.
So, and also because we were playing the album and it starts with a slightly slower song, it was a weird way to start.
Yeah. It was. But it was good, man. Everybody liked it. We were able to move some CDs and stuff, and then people were excited. They're excited for the streaming to come out, and we're getting some pre-orders for the album, for the vinyl. So yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. And because we played the whole album in order and videoed and recorded the whole thing, we've now got all that stuff, so we can make videos. We can make like music videos out of it. We can, release some live tunes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Good stuff, man.
It's going to be great. Very excited about the whole thing, honestly. And the day before that, we were at Meg O'Malley's.
We were. Which
is always a good laugh. If you don't know about Meg O'Malley's in Melbourne, you're missing out. They do a soft, but I've said this so many times on here, it's like they should pay us. They do a soft boiled Scotch egg, which is just to die for. So good.
You introduced me to Scotch eggs last year, man, and I just, every time we're there now, I have to get one. It's just so good.
They're delicious. It's some kind of sorcery how they manage to keep it soft on the inside. Amazing. We have Nate Ginnetty with us today. How's it going, man?
How you doing?
Yeah, very well. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
Yeah. It absolutely is. We've never really had the chance to sit down and have a good chat, so this is a wonderful time to do so. And I think probably a great place to start is where did you grow up, and what was the whole kind of situation when you were growing up in terms of were your parents supportive of music, stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Massachusetts.
Right.
I recently moved to Florida in 2016. And I think I grew up pretty lucky with a lot of music in my life. I remember distinctly riding around in my dad's car, and he would put Tony Bennett or Perry Como or some crooner on the cassette tape.
Nice.
Probably dating myself. And then, he sang in church, so I sang in church with my three brothers.
Yeah, great.
And then at home, we were kind of like the Von Trapp family. My mom plays the fiddle. My dad's a singer, like I mentioned. And then my other brothers play piano and guitar, respectively. So the six of us, it's just like the Von Trapps. So you used to jam
out at home?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That is so cool. I used to do that with my brother and my sister. Yeah. My whole family's pretty musical, too.
Okay.
And we didn't necessarily have a family band like that, but me and my brother and my sister used to jam a lot. It was a lot of fun.
It's so fun, yeah. And again, to be able to just have that in the house is unreal, right?
For sure. So something that I'm always curious about, because I know it helped me when I was young, is do you think that the church and stuff like that, do you think kind of doing music in the church laid a sort of a ground work for you to be a musician, laid a kind of basis for that? Because I found that I learned a huge amount, especially about singing. That was really where I learned to sing in harmony and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you find that was useful for you as well?
Yeah, I think that probably constitutes my formal training in singing period, right? Just learning scales when you're a little kid in the choir.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, and it sets you up so well. I also
does.
came away with a huge affinity for the organ, right? Like a huge pipe organ, I love that.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah. I used to have these daydreams when I was sitting in the pew there as a little lad that I'd come up from under the ground with dry ice coming around the organ and go, and I'd rock out. I wanted to do that since I was like a little kid. Still never have done it. We should do that sometime, Gilbert.
It's just that'd just be a weird video for us, man.
Yeah, totally. So, how did you learn how to play your instruments? Did you have any teachers?
Yeah, when I was very young, I had to take piano lessons, and I wound up like kids are. I kind of didn't like it, and later on in life, I really regretted like quitting because I had to reteach myself the piano. It's such a useful instrument to know.
Yeah, for sure.
And then actually, the guitar as well. I remember my older brother got a guitar for Christmas. He learned like one Pink Floyd song on it, and then just kind of reconciled it to the under the bed. So I took it and I started noodling around, and I was probably 13. Right. And I kind of struck up a love for it and an affinity for it. So that's probably where I learned. Yeah.
Yeah. It was around that age that I started getting into the guitar as well. That was about the age that my mum and dad got me a guitar after me begging for years. But so that was kind of part of that. When did you start playing your guitar?
Guitar was a while. I started playing bass in high school, and I don't think I picked up a guitar until well after that.
Gotcha.
And then but even but the guitar I just noodle with. So I mean,
right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm not I wouldn't call myself a guitarist by any means.
It was high school bass.
Yeah, I didn't pick up bass until probably my junior year of high school.
Gotcha. Yeah. Was it kind of to join a band? Is that why you did it?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing saxophone up until then in and out of like jazz bands and stuff, and then I was playing a little bit of keyboard. Again, just that was like self-taught. I wasn't. I didn't take any piano lessons or anything. I was just playing. I would listen to something and just figure out how to play it.
Yeah.
And so I was playing some keyboards and stuff. Buddy asked me to do a show with them with their band. So I to be honest with you, I think it was the telltale story of, hey man, do you want to join our band?
Yeah.
Bring your PA.
Okay.
So I played a couple shows with them on keyboard. We had a bass player, and then bass player parted ways with us, and I just took up bass, and that's just kind of where it happened. So, yeah.
So when it comes to playing with other people and playing in bands outside of your family, were you doing that from an early age?
Yeah, I must have been around the same time as I started learning guitar. I was a singer for a local screamo band. I was probably
that's awesome.
I kind of ahead of my time in terms of like proclivities. Really fell in love with hardcore punk and emo around that time, my adolescence. So I was a singer in that band until they kicked me out, as it'll happen. And then let's see, I had another band in college. We called ourselves the 1890. We played like 2 shows, but I was also all the while doing a lot of like solo playing. Right, so I went to school in upstate New York, and I started kind of cutting my teeth in that area. And then when I graduated, my career started in Hartford, Connecticut. So again, the Northeast, kind of making my way.
Yeah.
And then here and there, if I brought in a friend to play some backup guitar, I just happened to have some really talented musician friends.
Yeah, that's great.
And then when I came down to Florida, I was in a band called B-Side. We were mostly a cover band, but that's very popular around here.
Yeah, it is.
And
great way to make money if you want to be a musician down here.
Totally. Yeah. But on the same token, I had to leave that band because I was focusing on like my own music, and I really felt like I was blowing my voice out, playing so many shows Saturdays, Fridays, and
I hear that
music, right?
And actually, our album launch, my voice was, 30-40% gone from the night before.
Yeah,
I blew my voice out.
You guys are busy, right?
Yeah.
I really have a lot of respect for that, frankly, because I tried it, and it's tough. It's not easy keeping that up,
No, I mean, we don't do that thing that some bands do around here where they're playing, 5-6 times a week. We play on average. I play 3 or 4 times a week, and I'd say Hector plays. You play 1 or 2 times a week, don't you?
Probably,
on average.
Twice. I would say. Yeah. Rarely is it once. I mean,
that's true.
It's usually twice. Sometimes it's 3, but most of the time it's twice. Yeah.
Well, that's good on you. Keep busy. I mean, that's great.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I try and pick up the odd because it's more of a sort of central part of my income stream. I try and pick up the odd solo gig as well,
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So you got a few releases up there. Let's hear a little bit about this 2020 release, Leap of Faith, that's about the apparently there's a novel. Please just tell us all about it. Start from the beginning.
Yes,
It sounds fascinating.
yes.
Well, I mean, y'all remember what 2020 was like. I mean, there was a lot of time inside. And I have kind of a rudimentary digital 4-track, 8-track thing set up. So I started working out some songs and recording, layers, a rhythm guitar and a piano here, and then a keyboard there, and then, lead guitar, whatever. And I wound up really liking what I was coming up with. At the same time, I was rereading Dante's Purgatorio and just really into Meatloaf. I've always loved Meatloaf.
Yeah, right on.
But like Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I was just really on it.
Yeah, you and my wife would get on like a house on fire. My wife is head over heels in love with Meatloaf.
My wife too, actually. It must be a wife thing. Yeah, she loves Meatloaf. So anyway, just due to all those influences and due to all the time that I had to myself, I wrote this little EP with this long narrative behind it. And I was writing a novel concurrently. I'm still writing it. Never written anything prosaic like that before. So it's, I mean, it really is a labor of love. It takes a long time.
For sure. I've got now a half-written book that I haven't done anything with in like a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time too. Yeah, and if you get busy with other things, I'm a teacher full time, and I was telling Hector, my wife and I just had our first child, so things are busy.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, the novel's kind of a pause right now, but anyway, Leap of Faith was just born of opportunity. Just being at a time when you just had to make your own fun, right? And I thought I could make something substantial that kind of spoke to the literature and the music that I love. So
excellent. So in terms of the story, how do you develop it in terms of the songs on the album? Is it something where it would be spoilers if you talk about that, or?
No, it's funny. The novel's not about me, but I styled some of the experiences of the protagonist after my own. And one of them that kind of gave me the whole idea was when I was living in Hartford, I one time accidentally found myself at a Hells Angels support motorcycle club headquarters. And I rode to what I thought was a bike night. And all these guys, I probably shouldn't say the name of the club, but they were all strapped, and it was like very much one percenters. Yeah. So I styled the Sensation Seekers after this club, and then I wrote the song Sensation Seeker about this guy who is like an adrenaline junkie. His name's Zechariah. Anyway, that is probably too much spoiler, to be honest with you. I've never said that much about it publicly. So it is in the works, and I'm really excited to get it finished and then to see if anybody will publish it.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very impressed, man. That's super cool.
Thanks.
You have a 2018 self-titled record too. Is that the first thing that's out there that you've ever put out there?
Yeah. The first thing that I went to a studio to record, everything else prior to that was always just, demos in my house.
Right.
And around the time when Reverb Nation was like a big, that website was huge.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I was getting some traction there, and that was a good jumping off point to get gigs and whatever. But then I wanted to make something, that was a product of my own design. So I collected what I think were my 12 best songs at the time, and then went to record at Bunker Road Studios right in West Palm Beach.
Nice.
So yeah, it was fun. It was my first time in a studio like this.
Yeah.
And it was great fun to kind of lay it down and to work on it and to finally, get a chance to listen to it when it was streaming. So
nice, man.
Yeah.
So this next one that comes out on December the 12th, which is called Lightyear, right? No. What's it called?
It's called Buzz Lightyear. No, it's called Tread Lightly.
Tread Lightly. My phone turned it into Trees Lightyear. Is not that.
I mean, it's not too late. I could change it to
Trees Lightyear, man. I like it. I like it. That's our next album.
Now you get royalties for that name. Thank you for that.
Okay, so Tread Lightly. Cool.
Yes.
Good stuff. So what's going on with this new record? Is it does it sound similar to the stuff you've done in the past, or is it a different approach?
I really think people are going to be surprised by the tone that this one takes on. It's a lot less acoustic instruments, a lot more direct in a lot of heavy guitars, even some scream vocals mixed in there, harkening back to the old days before I became a washed-up hardcore kid. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. It's very different. I really stepped out of my comfort zone for this one.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting, actually. I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's December 12th, right?
December 12th, it's out.
Yeah, nice. So how much do you get out there and gig these days? How much are you doing stuff?
These days, again, with the baby at home, he's a month old, so not as much. I'm really focusing right now on just kind of well, you know how it is when you're a small band. You are your own social media guy. You're your own you know. And so I'm focusing on kind of getting the record packaged in the right way. Yeah. My producer kind of showed me some ways to keep spacing and
where
all
are
that
Where are
crazy
you
stuff.
producing this one?
This was at BAM Studios in Green Acres, Florida.
Okay.
So it's always in the local area. I love keeping it in Palm Beach County.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people.
We do.
Amen. Yeah.
We
with producers and musicians and likewise. So venues too.
Now, when you are gigging, are you doing just like a 30-minute set or a 45-minute set of originals, or are you playing like these 3 and 4 hour gigs and mixing in covers?
Yeah, that's exactly the latter of the two. I think the last time I played was at Skunkworts Brewing, which is in Northwood Village.
Sure. Yeah.
And it must have been like a 3-hour gig.
Yeah.
So I snuck in, more originals than maybe the crowd would have expected. I love playing originals.
I'll tell you, we play originals, quite a bit when we're playing out, and for a while it was like, oh, let's sneak one in here or there, but we're finding more and more often that people actually like it when we play our originals. So
sometimes they seem to like it more.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we're almost to the point now where like, if we're doing 3 sets, like basically almost one full set is just originals.
Yeah. And especially when we were warming up for this album launch, we just took the middle set and just played the album, and then that was the set, and which is quite a nice way of doing it. And then all of a sudden you have like a million other songs you can pick from, because you haven't used up
anything.
Right. And you played it in order from start to finish.
Yeah.
See, I like that. That's pretty cool. I do like when bands play like the entire corpus, because it's supposed to be in that track order, right? I mean,
right, exactly. And the other thing, partly the reason I knew you would like that is because of this essentially concept album that you did, this Leap of Faith album.
Right.
There's a certain mindset that certain people have where they like it like that. If you're a certain type of writer, you present this body of work and it's meant to be digested in that way.
Yeah,
for sure.
Right.
The other band I'm in with Justin, our producer, Euphoria. We have a set of songs that we're going to be working on here shortly, hopefully, and laying it down for an album. And same thing, whenever we play it out, we play it in that exact order, because it's basically a concept album and it tells a story. And if you don't play it in that order, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. We did a few. I think apart from one. All of the albums that I did with Sonic Boom 6 were in some way or other a concept album. There was definitely a theme for the album. We tried to make it all fit. It wasn't always completely literal, you know what I mean? It wasn't always like a linear story, but it was definitely all about the same thing.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and actually, maybe that would be a good way for us to approach the next Killbillies album, is just have some kind of vague idea about what the whole thing is about, and then just cut facets off it,
I want to do an album about my mom.
I'm down.
Awkward. Well, that just took a turn south. So back to Nate.
Yeah, right. So, in terms of music, what would you say some of the biggest influences musicians have been in your forging of your style? Is there anyone that you really love?
Yeah, top band of all time, Hot Water Music of Gainesville,
Hell
Florida.
Yeah,
man. Absolutely, positively. And actually, I was fortunate to meet Chuck after one of the fests a couple of years back.
I love that you're a punk rocker. Me too.
Yeah, and honestly, again, it's like, my first 2 records they're very acoustic driven, and they're very, melodic, and I think a lot of people don't know that I was reared on, like I said, heavy metal, and I really do consider myself a washed-up hardcore kid. So those bands have always been up, at a high echelon for me. But recently for this stuff, I was listening to a lot of Moontooth and a lot of like Gojira and a lot of like really, really heavy bands, just to kind of get a sense of what that would.
So curious to hear the new album, because it just sounds like it's going to be in a whole new direction.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to like my own taste. So I will say the stuff that I play doesn't always represent the stuff that I grew up listening to and what I still love.
Sure, and it kind of segues into a question that I brought up to you earlier, which is being from the hardcore scene and stuff like that, you might have a little bit more of a sort of nuanced answer to this, but I 3 years ago, I stopped drinking, got sober, and it was it's been perhaps the biggest and most important decision in my life. It's changed turned my life around, quite honestly. And I wondered, when it comes to sort of booze and alcohol and your music, how do they sort of do they intersect in any way? You know, how do you have to deal with that at gigs?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, maybe you can agree here, like when you're getting a paycheck from a venue, they're going to pay you in a bar tab too, right?
Yeah.
So I felt sometimes, you know, wherever I was playing, especially the band, it's like you kind of have to, I don't know, it's like going to an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's like, I got to make it worth my while here, right?
I know,
and then all of a sudden you're like 10 deep and it's a problem on
Yeah.
stage. So I do feel like that's a complicated relationship for sure, because if you're playing in a bar, again, like, you know, it's part of the culture. And I think that maybe speaks to just alcohol culture in America. You know, in my family, we have a few alcoholics, and so, you know, we've always been careful about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would definitely say, you know, when you're in a band, it's there, and the temptation, if you have some sort of, you know, problem, or it can be a bigger problem.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's interesting that you say that you know, it had been a thing in your family, and so you're aware of it.
Yeah.
I think that in the US especially, there's an awareness of it, and a little bit less, and it's a little bit more talked about, a little bit less shameful than it is in England. In England, it's like lately it's got better, but it has been brushed under the carpet a little bit, you know, and you know, people can be really shamed for it, and I think that here it can be recognized that, oh, you know, we've got some alcoholics, in fact, probably should be careful, you know what I mean? And I think that perhaps if, you know, if that had been a little bit more readily available, the knowledge of that when I was younger, things might have been a little bit different. I don't know, you know, maybe they wouldn't, but, you know, I just think it's good that it's all out there. It's more out there, especially in Florida. We're in like the recovery capital of the planet.
Yeah, that is
True story. True story.
That's true.
It's funny. We you know, Killbillies really doesn't really get any gigs where they're paying us any kind of bar tabs or anything like that.
Oh, okay.
The three of us really just don't drink. I mean, Ben doesn't drink, and then James and I, by our own choice, just don't drink around Ben, and so we don't drink at gigs, and it's kind of well known that we just don't. And so you know, so when we get paid, we just get paid. But there was a time I was in a Nirvana tribute band for a while, and you know, I mean, we were playing those kinds of gigs where you got X dollars plus, you know, X, you know, $50 bar tab or whatever they were going to give you. Right. And we played at this place. It's not there anymore. It was a place down in Delray called Juke Joint, and they gave us, you know, some sort of bar tab or whatever plus X dollars in pay. And it wasn't a lot. I mean, it wasn't a big show, so we were just getting going, and we weren't making a ton of money yet. And the three of our wives, there's three of us in the band, and the three of our wives came and were sitting there and were, you know, drinking on the band, I guess, you know. Okay. And then came time to pay, and I asked for the check, and again, they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, "Oh no, you actually owe us money." I'm like, "What do you mean? We had a bar tab, we had money coming to us," and they're like, "Your wives drank." They drank through the bar tab. They drank through the bar tab. They drank through the paycheck. They drank through everything, and we still owed them money. It was like so embarrassing.
More than once, dude. Yeah. And that leads rather nicely into another question, which is, has anything really nuts ever happened to you at a gig?
You know, I was thinking about this question, and the one instance that comes to my mind was I was playing at an Irish pub in downtown Hartford called McKinnon's. I don't know if I can name drop here. McKinnon's. And the XL Center is like a major arena just down the block from McKinnon's. So this night in particular, there were a lot of people in the pub, and a guy came up, and I thought he was going to tip me, and he did, but he tipped me 2 tickets to a show that was coming up in the arena. Oh, cool. And it was Michael Bublé. So I was like,
oh my God.
Never in my life would I have like darkened a doorway, but I got 2 free tickets, so went on a date, and it was awesome. I think that's probably the craziest thing that I can speak that has happened to me, getting tipped 2 tickets to Michael Bublé.
Now the only
I would have gone too, why not, right?
The only thing that could have made the story better was if Michael Bublé
himself
had actually given you 2 tickets to see Michael Bublé. Hey kid, come see my show later.
That's really funny. I love that. So when it comes to, we touched on it earlier, but I wonder if you have any sort of pearls of wisdom on the subject. When it comes to like the social media aspect of being an artist, so you're doing all of that yourself, are you? And what does that entail for you? Like, how much are you sort of putting into that? Like, you know, a week of it. You know, what are you doing?
Well, one thing that I've learned not to do is to chase like analytics. I think that is a very slippery slope where you're like, how many people are streaming? And on Spotify too, if you have Spotify for Artists, the app, it tells you like the demographic in very specific
don't
detail.
I know it? I sometimes get obsessed with all that stuff.
Yeah, it's real easy to get obsessed with. This random person is listening in Jupiter, Florida right now, or like New Haven. I have a friend in New Haven. I wonder if that's he listening to my song out there right now.
Yeah.
So it's easy to get caught up in that kind of stuff, but I do find it fascinating too. So I've been working on this one, especially on how to get things properly spaced and to just make sure things are synced.
Yeah.
I don't really use a lot of social media. I have Instagram, and then I have a blog. And
I have a blog. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an old school thing that musicians should. It helps for sure. It's like when zines. Remember, like paper
I basically
zines,
use
right?
my Facebook page for that. I just go on with myself on my Facebook page. For that.
The truth is, if you have a website and the website has the blog on it,
right,
and you post regularly, whatever that means. I don't know if regularly is once every 6 months or once every 6 days or once every 6 hours. Whatever it is.
Right.
But if you post regularly on there. Supposedly, the powers that be say that that immensely helps the SEO for that page, and you come up higher in searches because now it's not just those keywords that you have on your website. You now have those keywords plus all the keywords that are in the blog that you just wrote, and then all the keywords in the next blog you wrote, and all the keywords in the next blog, and the bots and stuff, the Google bots and whatever that index these pages, once they index the page, if there's no real major change to the page, it just kind of sits stagnant. Whereas if there are pages in constant flux and changing, i.e. a blog, it's constantly web crawling and boosting the SEO. Just a little nugget of wisdom I thought I'd just drop there on you.
Advice. Thank you. Wow.
That is good to know. I guess we should do that.
Damn it, now he's going to make me blog on
that. We'll ask Danielle to do that. We have a lady who helps us with our social media, does our social media, we pay her. Yeah. It just works so well. She's super cool. Big up, Danielle.
Yep.
But yeah, so the other thing I wanted to ask you is when it comes to promoting the album, getting on playlists, all that kind of thing. Have you got some kind of strategy for that when this thing comes out? Are you gonna be sort of submitting it and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have a couple of publications that are at least interested in doing a record review.
Nice.
This has been really cool to be here.
Yeah.
And then obviously pounding the pavement and trying to play shows. One of the other things, of course, about being a solo musician is like that is also part of your job, as you are your own booking agent.
Yeah.
So I had a tour manager at the tail end, or rather before the pandemic started, and it was like, man alive, I could see why people pay for this service, right?
Yeah, really.
So much easier.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, maybe, hopefully you can't speak to this too much, but how many times have I reached out to like a venue and they've just like ghosted me entirely, like never got back to you? It's like so disheartening.
I would say it happens more often than it doesn't happen, It's like, it just seems how it is. And then I've been on the other end of it and been, booking for a venue. Yeah. And it's just because you get inundated.
Okay.
And, I'll do things like, I'll say, oh yeah, I'll get right back to you. I don't get back to the people for like 2 months because it's like, 20 other people and you forget, It's difficult to stay on top of that stuff. So now I've been on the other side of it. I don't take it personally anymore.
No.
You know what I mean?
You can't take it personally.
Yeah, which has actually done me a lot of good because, you start getting in your head and thinking, oh, it must mean they hate me. They don't hate you. They just lost it. They just think, slipped their mind.
They hate you, Ben.
Don't get it twisted.
Ben, they hate you.
They hate you specifically. They don't hate me. They hate you.
Yeah.
So do you have a writing process when it comes to writing? Do you have any kind of like way that it seems to happen?
Yeah, honestly, memos like on your phone.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can't tell you how many songs I've started writing in a car, like being stuck in traffic. I hate traffic so much. And just putting on the voice memo, and at least you get a rudimentary idea for a song. More often than not, I write the instrumentation first, and then I write lyrics to match them, or I have like a poem that I have been kicking around for a couple of years, and I'm like, this could work.
Yeah.
But I really feel like just having a notepad on hand, and in my case, it's me battling my road rage with a voice memo.
You have any stuck in traffic road rage songs?
Yeah, well, actually, I'll tell you what. I was playing with a band in Pompano Beach, and the guitarist was kind enough to buy me a set of drumsticks. And if I'm not recording something on my phone, that steering wheel is like a full drum rig. You know what I'm talking about? I highly encourage you to get a set of drumsticks, just some cheap Vic Firths,
When my mum hears this, she's going to be terrified I'm going to crash my car. So, Mum, I'm not going to do that. I promise.
Right. No, only when you're stationary, but it does mitigate stress for sure.
But yeah, so I just discovered that. So I got a smartwatch and it has a metronome on it, but also has voice memos on it. So I'm going to be using that all the time. Man.
Beauty, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so stoked that it has that. I'm going to be using that for all the time.
I find that if you don't write it down, like it's gone. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so many times I'm kicking myself. I'm like, man, I wish I just written that down. So.
Oh, well, that's great. Like he has tons of voice memos and written things.
Yeah.
He has things written in the memos and stuff in his phone. And like I came to him at one point with a song idea. I'm like, hey, check out this chord progression, whatever. And then we noodled with it. We brought it to James, the other guy in the band. We noodled with it some more. And then Ben's like, yeah, I have lyrics for that. And he starts scrolling, and then bam, lyrics.
Yeah. See? In fact, we got to get back on that. Now we've done the album, it's time to start the new one. So if you ever want to just bust some chords over to me, it's about time we did that.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask is, do you practice your instrument much these days in terms of like, traditional practice?
So do I put in like, the hours? And we were talking about sweeping earlier. No, I don't really do that, but I have found that my son really likes the sound of the banjo and he loves the sound of the piano.
Cool.
So those are the two instruments that get the most play in the house now, like just to kind of soothe the beast, so to speak.
Yeah.
If that counts as practicing, then I guess I'm keeping my hours up.
Your son likes the banjo.
Yeah, he loves the banjo. Everybody loves the banjo.
That's
come
true,
on,
I guess
right?
so, yeah,
you can't play the banjo and be
You can't
sad.
not like the banjo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
real.
that's true. I sit at home and I play the banjo. I love the banjo.
Except my wife.
Good.
She doesn't like the banjo.
Really?
She's not human, so.
There has to be
Love
one
you,
dig
babe.
on Hector's wife every episode. All right, so I think it's time to hear you play some of your tunes. You up for that?
That sounds like a plan. Yeah.
Let's go.
Cool.
Am I about to do it again? It's been a long time since the last time when I wrote the note I must have forgotten. Another letter never sent. I smell the roses in their redolence. And I chose the road of all abandonments. Prodigal son and my inheritance is worth every penny that I spent. Reciting some tired old lines, some trite advice to ease my mind. It's destiny, the same way twice. No need to try another time. Whoa, right. Am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Oh, I've been broke down, but I'm one man. And I lost my appetite for violence, the last of a dying breed of men. Reciting some tired old lines, some trite advice to ease my mind. It's destiny, the same way twice. No need to try another time. Alright, am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Am I about to do it again? If now or never when. Trying to reconstruct and leaving them piece by piece with sinkholes. Swallow mama, swallow slopes increases. Your flesh bows sparking like a press release. 2 hands in your pocket, 2 sets of gold teeth. And Cobra beverages named for natural disasters. Go down, easy it's set and faster. You can catch up to what follows thereafter. 2 hands in your pocket, gold teeth. Dark laughter, if ever you find yourself in love, big easy. Look after each other. You can't take it from me. But don't go doing no favors for good-looking strangers, and be careful of crooks with gold calves for tea. Well, the rumors are true about the French cardio. One step more, welcome with each open out in an envelope, urban street, away to the water. 2 hands in your pocket, gold teeth, and moreover, reconcile debts that you owe to yourself. For the foolish mistakes that jeopardize your health. Take a different one back to a different hotel. Keep it all locked down, and if you forget, well, if ever you find yourself in love, big easy. Look after each other, oh, you can't take it from me. But don't go doing no favors for good-looking strangers, and be careful of crooks with gold calves for tea. Doesn't it always go down this way? After 48 hours, feeling tired and betrayed, Lord, I ran into her face, but it was I seen in the first place. When I look out my window, I can't see a thing except Lake Poncho train flowing under the wing, and the paperwork's filed. At least that's something scored some brand new cell digits, and I intend to ring. So give down regards to that gift with gold teeth. She gave me more than she taken from me. When she lifted my billfold, she makes a space free in my pocket. Well, that number's resting safely. If ever you find yourself in love, big easy. Look after each other, oh, you can't take it from me. But don't go doing no favors for good-looking strangers, and be careful of crooks with gold calves for tea. Whoa.
Five Six One Music is brought to you by Handlebars Bar and Grill. It's a biker bar in Tequesta, and if you're driving up US 1, you come across it on the right-hand side. It's a little bar there. It's bright yellow. You can't miss it, with handlebars on the sign. And it has a long and storied history. It's been there. It used to be called Judy's, and it was run by this guy Victor, who sadly passed this year, R.I.P. Victor. And then my father-in-law took it over, and he's doing a great job up there. There is a bike night every second Thursday of the month, and there is a jam every fourth Sunday of the month. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's just an all-inclusive, any kind of music, any style, any ability type of a jam. And there's great beers on tap, and they're wonderful food. Bernsey, the chef, does a fantastic job. If you're interested in classic cars or classic bikes, there's always that kind of stuff hanging around there. It attracts that sort of a crowd because it's called Handlebars Bar and Grill, so it makes sense. And yeah, you should come swing by. It's definitely a local spot and has a lot of character. And there's people who have been going there for decades and decades. It's one of those places that's a part of the furniture in Tequesta, and you should definitely come check it out. I booked the music for the place and love doing it, and I was a part of helping set the place up, and I'm a huge fan. And you should, anyone who is interested in biker bars, or even if you've just never been to one and you're curious about what a biker bar is about, you should go and check out Handlebars Bar and Grill. We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Kava Bar is in Sea Grape Square on Indiantown Rd, and it is a kava bar. If you don't know anything about kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water. And it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, that brings people together. take a shell of Kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a Kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of Kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, there's sort of like black light and EDM playing. And some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Route Kava Bar. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band, Unemployed Youth, accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue, and we can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in, and it was a real success. But outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. It's north of the gas station, right before you get to North Lake on Military Trail. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. Thanks. We were just listening to an advert about Live Music Community, which is where we're sitting right now. And I think it would be nice if we asked you, do you have any advice for upcoming beginning musicians?
Honestly, I think you said it best just a moment ago. You just have to keep your nose to the grindstone. Don't take things personally. You're going to encounter gatekeepers in the scene, whether it's a venue or another band. And you just can't be disheartened by that because what you want to express means so much more than what somebody else perceives of it.
Sure.
Yeah, you have to develop quite a thick skin.
Yeah.
And just mental tactics to kind of deal with rejection,
Right.
Yeah.
Or you're just really handsome and talented and everybody wants to book you all the time.
Yeah, all that.
Must be nice.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I hate when that happens to me.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit about what the two songs you played us were about?
Great. So the first one that I played is called Again. The single from Tread Lightly is called One by One. So this is actually the first time before the album comes out that anybody's heard Again.
Nice.
Cool.
World premiere right here on
World
561 Music.
Well, could we get into a little bit about what's going on in the lyrics of them?
Sure. Am I about to do it again? It's like one of those moments where you're, face palm. Like, is this, you're like, for real? You better. And yet you find yourself, going down the same path.
Yeah.
It's part of human nature.
Sure.
That's
and everything is a
We've all
learning
been there.
experience.
Yeah, no
Right.
doubt about it.
Exactly. So that's what I wrote the song about. And then the second song is called Big Easy. And I think to date, that's probably my most popular song. It's from my self-titled release in 2018. And it's unfortunately a true story about the time that I got drugged and robbed in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Lord, I'm
no.
sorry.
Yes. So
man.
that's, again, I always say terrible experience, but it's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. So it's kind of like, it's the debt that you pay to create something, right?
Yeah. I tell you what, I would say 60 or 70% of people who go to New Orleans, that either happens to them or they just do it to themselves. Because I've definitely spent a huge amount of money and taken drugs in New Orleans.
And you're not the only one, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing happened to me one time when I was there. I was watching this guy playing right in some kind of Guns N' Roses style cover band, and he just had this plate next to him, and he was just hoovering up huge amounts of coke and then playing and playing and playing. And then halfway through the gig, this guy shows up, gives him this big bag. He hands over this huge wad of cash. He just lays it all out, carries on going. And this was just on Bourbon Street.
No way.
In front of everyone.
Wow.
It was crazy.
I thought you were going to say the craziest thing that happened to you there was that you drugged and mugged somebody. And I was going to go, crap, that was awkward. I thought you looked familiar.
That's hilarious. Yeah, cool. So you brought some gear in for us to take a look at. Why don't we have a look at this board here? Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Sure. So you're starting on the rightmost side for your input, and then the output is the leftmost side from the loop pedal. So the right is a noise gate. We were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I usually, the most application it gets is in studio. I hardly ever play it live. The next one is a distortion pedal by Electro Harmonix, which I absolutely love. It's got this really nice shimmer effect.
Oh no! Do I have to get one now?
Yeah, I think you ought to. Electro Harmonix, by the way, great pedal company.
I got a ton of them. Yeah, I use a freeze pedal by them, and I use it like every other song. And
yeah. So helpful.
Yeah.
If I'm not using that for distortion, I'm using the little mini blacks, the top red. That's another distortion, but it's a lot beefier. So when I was playing rhythm guitar and then lead guitar for this band in Pompano, I crack that one out all the time.
Cool.
It gets a little bit dry, I guess, the signal. So the bottom mini is just a standard reverb. It's another. I kind of like the mini because it's a little more. You can swap them out for whatever you like.
Yeah.
But it has a nice little shimmer. I got it on. I forget where I got it, but it wasn't expensive at all. And then the last thing is the loop pedal. And for a solo gig, that's like my number one thing. Especially recently, I've been playing rhythm on the guitar, setting it in the stand, bringing an old vintage Yamaha like synthesizer, playing piano on that, and then at least it kind of sounds like a band a little bit.
Yeah.
So the loop pedal really helps, especially if you're playing two instruments at once.
Tell me about it. That's how I do my solo gig as
well.
There you go. Yeah. I use a looper. I got that Boss RC600 with all the bells and whistles. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And is that thing at the top there just a mixer?
Just a mixer.
Yeah. And is that how you mix it when you do solo gigs? You have it down on the ground like that?
Yeah, if I'm not using my PA, which has a mixer built right in. This one is, for example, at E.R. Bradley's, their house sound doesn't have any other thing, so you have to bring your own mixing board. In other places, Square Grouper in Fort Pierce, I found that to be the case as well. So, it's helpful sometimes. But this is pretty much my rig as it stands.
Yeah, nice. I've been doing that too. When my solo gigs, I have my mixer down on the ground, like attached on a board. And it seems to work pretty good for me as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have a problem with like the loop thing. They think it doesn't have integrity. And I say if you're just chucking rhythm down and then you're maybe playing a lead on top or you're playing piano on top of it, I don't think that's cheating. What I do think is cheating is when people do the layered vocals. If you're a solo guy, I feel like because there's no way that you and I can replicate that. You have like a whole choir of people and like beautiful thirds and fifths harmonies. Come on.
You know what it is for me? It's just, is it good or not?
Okay.
Like if someone's using a looper and it sucks, it sucks. If someone's using a looper and it sounds really awesome and they build it up in a clever way, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
That's really the only sort of thing I have with it is if you can't use a looper or if it's literally propping up your entire set to the point where if you weren't using it you'd be terrible, then maybe it's a problem. But if it's adding to the music and making the music cool, I don't, it's fine.
A fair point.
In this digital age, where we've got all these things at our disposal, and if you can use them, I say use them. If you can do it well, that's my opinion.
Best looper in Palm Beach County, by the way. Matt Brown, hands down, right?
Yeah.
Dude rules at the bass and like the kid. So cool.
Totally.
So cool.
And so, yes, I mean, do you know Ricky Bobby?
I'm not sure.
You got to check him out. He's wild with his looper.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's the Boss 505.
Oh, wow.
But he doesn't have the pedal attachment to it. So he's actually playing, and then he lets go his guitar, and he's like hitting switches and dials and buttons. It's crazy.
That's sick.
And he just loads them in there like this. He'll go, and then it's going. You know, like he doesn't he doesn't have to go through the whole thing. He just knocks it in like one at a time. It's crazy.
Like seconds.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought one of those 505s like months ago, still sitting in the box, and every now and then he'll text me and threaten to like, I'm just gonna come over and teach you how to play it, and teach you how to use it, and then one day I'll take him up on it.
Yeah, he's had a lot of ego stroking in this episode. We were bigging up his band at the beginning. He's the lead singer of that band, The Shake, as well.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, well,
shout out to Shake one more time.
Exactly. he deserves it. All those guys are great. They're really awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
So what have you got coming up in the pipes? Is there anything that we should know about the album on December 12th?
Yeah.
It's the day after my birthday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
We planned it that way, Hector.
I figured it was my birthday gift. Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
You got it, man. Anytime.
Are you going to do any shows to support it coming out?
Yes, absolutely. Dates forthcoming, but it looks like we're looking to do an album release party with a couple other people joining me on stage, actually some secret guests.
Oh, nice.
And
so you're doing it as a band?
Yeah, at the very least, it'll be a trio.
Okay.
And that'll be fun. So that'll be at E.R. Bradley's, or it might be at Steel Tie Spirits.
Nice.
So we were just in conversation like today. So we'll see what happens.
I've spoken to them in the past. We've never played. We need to follow that one up. As Steel Tie Spirits.
Both places very nice. Yeah, very nice venues.
Yeah.
These secret guests like locals, or are we talking like Sting's going to show up and like play with you?
No, I have to call Sting and tell him not to come.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't mean to blow the.
So this is a bit lame and name droppy, but his kids went to my school, and my buddy Leo dated his daughter, and got to play classical guitar and lute duets with Sting.
Whoa,
man, that's a crazy coincidence, because
Lutes.
this one time I went to a Sting concert.
That's great. Well, listen, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on. We should probably say where we usually say where we're playing at the end of this.
We're playing at Stringers in Stewart. Is that? That's a new place for us. I don't think we've played there before.
No, I don't think we have.
Yeah, Stringers in Stewart on Friday.
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow for us right now. Yesterday, if you're listening to this episode.
Yeah. Everyone have had a good
hopefully everyone had a good Thanksgiving by the time they listen to this episode. And then Saturday, we are playing at Patty Mac's, our spiritual home. Patty Mac's in Palm Beach Gardens.
And James and I are playing at Square Group in the afternoon from 3 to 6.
Okay. You have any solos this weekend or no?
I'm having a look. No, you know what I'm doing is I am recording with Joe from BFD, Butch and Fat Dudes.
Oh, nice.
I'm recording his guitar parts on Sunday.
Very nice.
So yeah,
awesome.
and maybe some vocals too. We're going to be doing some rocking out,
Awesome.
Joe and I. It'll be cool.
Yeah. Well, Nate, we'll make sure to put all the links and everything you sent us in the show notes, so people know where to find you, where to get your stuff and everything. And we're looking forward to that album.
Absolutely. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. Everybody listening, the usual, 561music.com. That's where you can find the episodes to listen to stream. That's where you can find our YouTube channel and kind of bounce off of that. That's where you can donate to us. That's where you can sponsor us. So 561music.com. All our socials are at 561 Music Podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I need more chains. I want to be like Mr. T.
Right. So send us lots of money so I can give it all to Ben.
No, as we always say on here, it all goes back into the podcast and to help us do the festival and everything like that. If anything is donated, you can be absolutely 100% sure it's going towards this and to help promote music in 561 area.
And speaking of the festival, Ben and I are starting to look at the details as to who to put on this next festival, and hopefully by beginning of January we're going to make that announcement so that we can start pushing and doing pre-sale tickets.
Yeah, exactly. Here it comes.
Probably it'll be at Matthews April 1st.
Yeah, man.
Not an April Fool's joke. and hopefully it'll be I think we're going to shoot for the same thing, right? 20 bands again, alternating stages. Yeah, that worked out pretty well last time.
Such a cool space, Matthews.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do again. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, so look for that.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure, Nate.
Yes,
and,
thank you very much.
Thanks again.
We'll see you next time. Peace out.
Yeah.
Peace out.